Bro, I didn't even think we would ever have to mention this again, but we're doing it. And it's not because I'm here trying to pull something out of thin air and trying to make a story out of it. Nah, this was literally discussed on Toronto Sports Radio on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, and the clip is on Twitter. You can go ahead and click the first link. Second link, actually. The first link is Jerseys Made Easy. Go ahead, get your custom jersey orders for your hockey team over there. But the second link in the description takes you to this page. It is a full-on clip of the recent Sportsnet 590 The Fan episode of The Good Show with Ben Ennis and JD Bunkus, and they discuss the Sidney Crosby to Montreal thing. And it's not even like, oh, it's going to happen, or there's a rumor saying that it will. What they're saying on the program is pretty much just, if he was going to get traded, which is very outside the realistic realm of possibility in many hockey fans' minds, including mine, Montreal should be the place. And this audio clip goes over a few suggestions as to who could be included. And you can kind of hear the facepalm that I'm doing right now because we're talking about some very notable names for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, in order to actually get everything out there, because this is a suggestion made on a radio hit, we're going over onto hockey30.com where they have a written out post as to what exactly it is the hosts on The Good Show recommend. And if you go over and you read it, it says right here. Earlier today, on a Sportsnet 590 podcast, JD Bunkus and Ben Ennis broke down what a potential deal might be if we did in fact see Crosby traded to Montreal. Jesperi Kotkaniemi would be the centerpiece, returning with prospects Ryan Poehling, Cole Caufield, and 2 first-round picks. Crosby has 3 years remaining on his contract at this time and grew up a Habs fan. The Penguins may indeed need to rebuild at some point with the veterans being moved. However, from a Habs standpoint, is it worth it? I'm going to say no. Absolutely not. And that's the video. Hope you enjoyed this video. So Trolls the 99. Just kidding. We're not going to hit you with that fake outro like we did last time. But I wanted to say this here first and foremost. So Sportsnet 590 is a Toronto-centered sports radio show. A lot of the discussion is oriented towards the Leafs, and a lot of the people who are on this program primarily talk about Toronto, because Toronto, obviously, it's the center of the hockey world, and Sportsnet 590 is a Toronto-centered station. And I brought that up because when you actually listen to the audio clip, it's the second link in the description, and you hear the host talk about what a potential Crosby return would be, which is indeed labeled as follows here in the article. They actually say Ryan Poehling, and they are very adamant on saying it like Poehling. And my first thought, before we even get into the discussion here, I was like, isn't Ryan Poehling, by the way, the guy who scored a hat trick and the shootout winner in his first ever NHL game? Wasn't he like one of the best players at the World Juniors a few years ago? Are there still people out there who think that his name is pronounced Ryan Poehling? Really? Okay, that's not even the main argument I wanted to talk about here. That's just one part of it. But the reason this is a trade that will never go through, in my opinion, is because when you have star players like Sidney Crosby, for example, the face of a game for a decade and a half, and the best player in the world for that portion and even more, you're never going to trade for this guy and win that deal. That's just it, plain and simple. In terms of a pure value point of view, the team that is acquiring this big number one asset is usually always going to get the fair share of the deal, unless, of course, it's Wayne Gretzky, who is literally like, in another realm in terms of point production, and when he was in the NHL, he was in that other realm. Sidney Crosby, while being a very good hockey player, arguably one of the top 5 talents of all time, at this point of his career, he's never going to be in that same light. Sidney Crosby is never going to undisputably lead the league in points over and over and over again, like Wayne Gretzky was doing when he was an Edmonton Oiler. And so when you have a player like this, who is just one of the top point producers in the entire NHL, one of the best players in the game today, you're not going to trade for this guy and expect to win that trade. You're going to give up assets, especially in today's market, that will really help out the Pittsburgh Penguins into the long-term future, because as we've noted in a few videos already, the Penguins don't have prospects, they don't have youth, they don't have good, young, foundational pieces to build towards in the next decade and a half once Crosby, Malkin, and Letang are all gone. So when you're in a position like this, where you're trading away what this radio hit is suggesting of Kotkaniemi, 2 first-round picks, Ryan Poehling, and Cole Caufield, that is way overboard. There isn't a player in the world, aside from Connor McDavid, I guess, who can still put up extraordinary numbers going into the long-term future that I think you could actually trade away for and actually come out winning the trade in certain circumstances. If Sidney Crosby was 23 years old, then sure, maybe you could say it's a lot more of a win for Montreal if they're going out there and trading for Crosby. But Crosby is in his early 30s. He's going to retire probably by the end of this decade, if not halfway through this decade. So is this the kind of guy you would go out there and say, okay, let's trade away the entire future of Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Cole Caufield, and Ryan Poehling, whatever that may be, as well as 2 first-round picks for what is going to be 3 years of Sidney Crosby? Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, doesn't it? You could make the debate, oh, Montreal's time to win is now, because they're top of the Canadian division, they're so good, they're winning games over and over and over again, and a Canadian team is guaranteed to be in the top 4 of this year's playoffs. Well, okay, but the rumors that we had earlier about Sidney Crosby were talking about what happens this summer, not now. So there's no reason the Canadiens would go out there and do something like this today. And even from the Pittsburgh Penguins standpoint, I'm not going out there and accepting this. Let's say Crosby is out there and, you know, the Penguins are legitimately trading Crosby. He's given the okay, he is out there, and there are teams looking to acquire the $8.7 million contract for the next 3 seasons. If Mark Bergevin comes out here and he's like, okay, here, Kotkaniemi will get Caufield and 2 firsts and Ryan Poehling too. Yeah, Ryan Poehling, I'm going to say it like that now. I don't think they say yes. Like, at the very least, I think that even though the value may be so heavily skewed in one direction for Montreal, I still think there's a level of respect that you have to have for a guy like Sidney Crosby to say, okay, if we're trading you Sidney Crosby, our best generational player over the past 10, 15 years, at the very least, we're getting Nick Suzuki back. We're getting your best player back. Don't give us this BS with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who is nowhere near the level of a Nick Suzuki today. You're not giving us that. You're giving us your best player today, and that is Nick Suzuki, who also has an element of youthful exuberance to his game that will allow him to be good in the next 10 years too. It's not just a whole bunch of future stuff, it's now and the future stuff. But Lego, Kotkaniemi is already good now, but Nick Suzuki's a lot better. You're taking away the best player on the Penguins if you're making this trade. You're not getting out of this without giving up your best player back. Oh, our best player is Carey Price, Shea Weber. That's not the point here. The point is, in terms of an on-ice product standpoint, you're not giving up what is entirely now in Sidney Crosby for entirely future in Caufield, Poehling, Kotkaniemi, and the picks. And to those who are going to say in the comment section or subtweet me on Twitter again, oh, why do people make videos about this stuff? They're just clickbaiting, they're trying to get all the views, they're trying to get all the conversation steered their way. Well, it's because it was broadcasted on Sportsnet Radio. They talked about this on air. And in Toronto, nonetheless, the biggest market for hockey sports coverage in the country. Like it or not, Toronto is bigger than Vancouver and Montreal in terms of the overall volume of people who are interested in this stuff and the reach. Also the media opportunities. That's crazy in Toronto. And because they discussed this live on air on Sportsnet 590, I'm like, okay, well, they're talking about this on Toronto radio. Why not talk about it here on the channel? Because I know somebody out there is going to comment in my comment section, hey, Lego, what do you think about this trade idea? You heard about this on the radio? We want to hear your thoughts, man. What's going on? And so here are my thoughts. I think it's kind of whack that people who were hosting this show talking about this idea were going out there talking about how Ryan Poehling should be involved. I don't like the idea that you can go out there without getting a Nick Suzuki. However, they did say, to give the benefit of the doubt to the people who did broadcast this, they did say it's one of Kotkaniemi or Suzuki, but my philosophy is if you're trading away your best player, you're getting the other team's best player in return, or at least one of their best players. Kotkaniemi isn't one of the best players in the Habs right now. Suzuki is. So that's kind of where I stand on it. If you disagree in any way, then let me know in the comment section below. I would really be interested in hearing it, because last time we made this video, Crosby and all that, it was very, very big, and we had a lot of discussion going on there. So talk to me in the comments what you thought about this discussion we had about what was discussed on Sportsnet 590 on the radio in terms of Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Is it Kotkaniemi, Poehling, Caufield, 2 firsts for Crosby? Is that good enough? Is that not good enough? I think it's non-satisfactory for both sides, but let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed this video, and bye.